The drums of Makula call the faithful, bells ring through the morning air, calling hearts and feet to the house of worship. Wrappers swirl like wind-blown colors as the people gather, carrying songs and secrets. Children cling to their mothers, whispering and giggling before silence claims the air. The rhythm of footsteps, the rustle of cloth, the hum of voices, all bow to the sound of one man's sermon yet to begin. He stands before them, tall and sure, voice booming like thunder. His words strike the walls and bounce back, strong and heavy. A woman who forgets her place brings shame to her husband. The sound cuts like a blade. His hand slams down and the echo rolls through the hall like drums before war. The people rise and answer, Amen. The word leaps from every mouth, growing louder with each beat. The sermon takes rhythm, fire, fury, and faith, blended into one breath. He speaks of wives who talk too much, of women who look men in the eye, of homes where men lose control. His tongue becomes a whip, lashing invisible wounds. The crowd nods. The women bow their heads low. The men straighten their shoulders. Respect, he says, is what keeps a home standing. Obedience, he says, is the crown of a good woman. He lifts his hand again, voice booming with pride. The men shout, Preach, and he smiles like a king among servants. But outside, the wind shifts. The drums stop. The doors creak open, the sound tears through the sermon like lightning through dry grass. All heads turn. The faithful fall silent. In the doorway stands a woman, barefoot and soaked. Her eyes burn brighter than the sun, yet her body trembles as if under a storm. In her hand she holds a torn piece of cloth, pale, wet, stained by the night before. A whisper snakes through the crowd. Isn't that Tun's wife? Why does she look like that? Where did she come from? Voices rise, sharp as thorns. The faithful lean closer, their faith fighting their fear. The preacher's hand tightens on the pulpit. The room grows smaller, the air thicker. The woman walks forward, slow but steady. Her grip tightens on the cloth as she lifts it high. The air trembles. The people hold their breath. Her voice cracks but carries strength beyond her body. Tell them, she says. Tell them what you did last night. A soundless wave spreads through the crowd. Gasps, shouts, whispers, eyes dart, searching for truth in the preacher's face. The man who once spoke like thunder now stumbles in silence. His lips move, but his voice has lost its fire. He forces a laugh, hollow and trembling. My child? The devil is confusing you. But the words fall flat. No, amen follows. Only murmurs crawl through the silence. The faithful shift uneasily. He's a man of God. Someone hisses. No. She speaks the truth, another mutters. The hall fills with tension thick as smoke. Mothers clutch their scarves. Men look at the floor. An elder rises, his staff tapping against the ground. Watch your tongue before you curse yourself, he warns. His voice carries weight, but not justice. The woman does not move. The bruises on her face speak louder than fear. The cloth in her hand flutters like a flag of truth. The preacher's eyes dart, his smile fading into shadow. The sermon that once held power now trembles under a woman's voice. The elder glares, the people murmur, and faith bends like grass before a coming storm. Then the woman lifts her chin. Tears slide down her cheeks, but her voice grows steadier with every breath. You preach respect, she says, yet you showed none. The words pierce the silence like arrows through dry bark. The crowd freezes. Even the air seems to stop moving. The preacher's eyes darken, pride wrestling with fear. His hand shakes as he wipes his brow. The faithful look from one to the other, the man who spoke of holiness, the woman who stands in truth. The tension hums like the edge of a blade. No one speaks. The fans stop turning. Even time seems to pause. The woman steps closer. Her words are calm now, like quiet rain after a storm. The man who teaches respect, she says, forgot his own lesson. The silence that follows is heavy, unbearable. Then, slowly, the sound returns, the hiss of whispers, the shuffle of feet, the thudding hearts of a crowd that no longer knows what to believe. Faith cracks. Trust trembles. Truth begins to take shape in their eyes. Whispers rise again, louder, sharper, wild like bees from a broken hive. It cannot be true. It must be. She would never lie. He's a holy man. Voices clash and swirl, carrying judgment and doubt through the air. The elder raises his staff again, shouting for silence, but his voice is drowned by the crowd. The preacher's lips move, but no sound escapes. His robe, once white as peace, now seems stained by fear. The woman stands firm, her torn cloth still raised like a banner of battle. She does not flinch as the faithful argue around her. Her truth has already been spoken. The room feels alive, trembling with something greater than words, the weight of truth long buried, now free. The preacher's eyes dart toward the door as if seeking escape, but the path is gone. The people's eyes are no longer his to command. The woman lowers her hand, the torn cloth hanging limp. The crowd's noise fades into stunned silence once more. In that breathless pause, the people of Makula see what they had not seen before. That power without truth is only noise. The final words echo like thunder before rain. The man who once preached submission now stands silent before it. The woman who once bowed now stands tall in her truth. And Makula, the village that once clapped for lies, now listens to truth with open ears. The drums of faith have changed their rhythm. The fire that once burned to control now burns to cleanse. The lesson has begun, and no one in Makula will ever forget the day the preacher's words turned against him. Evening falls on Makula and the air hums with talk. Women gather near the wells, their laughter carrying like drums over the dust. They praise the holy man who leads them each Sunday. His words, they say, can make a stubborn husband kneel and a wild child obey. Their voices dance with pride, but one woman stands quiet. Her hands rest still, her eyes heavy with something deeper than silence. The gossip rings around her, but her heart hears only the echo of questions that no one dares ask aloud. The next day, the sound of sandals on gravel brings a hush to the yard. The holy man arrives, smiling wide, Bible pressed to his chest like a crown jewel. He blesses the house with his voice before even stepping in. His words flow like honey, but the air tastes bitter. The home that forgets respect, forgets peace, he says. His tone is soft but heavy, like the weight of a hammer wrapped in cloth. The husband nods eagerly, eyes bright with pride. The woman kneels to serve water, her hands trembling as she sets the cup before him. He raises it in thanks, yet his eyes do not bless her face, they measure it. The visit grows longer than expected. The man speaks with fire and calm in the same breath. His words fall smooth, but they bind like ropes. A wife must bow before her husband, he says. Even when he is wrong, it is her duty for peace to stay in the home. The husband grins, proud of the wisdom he thinks he hears. He nods and repeats the words as if they are gold. But the woman's face tightens. Each sentence feels like a shackle tightening around her neck. The preacher's eyes flicker with something she cannot name, something darker than the words he speaks. The woman rises to pour tea. The preacher's gaze follows her like a shadow that has forgotten its master. His smile grows slow, spreading across his face like a secret he refuses to hide. She feels at the weight of his stare pressing on her back. Her breath catches. She moves faster, placing the cup before him without lifting her eyes. He chuckles low, the sound thick with something unholy. She steps back into the corner, clutching her wrapper tighter, praying that his gaze will lose its grip. But it doesn't. When the visitor finally leaves, silence fills the room like smoke after a fire. The woman turns to her husband, voice trembling with anger. "Did you not see how he looked at me?" He laughs, waving her words away. "You imagine things. The man only guides us. He is our teacher." Her hands tighten at her sides. "Guides us," she whispers. He guides his eyes where they do not belong. He shakes his head, unwilling to see what stands before him. His trust is blind, his pride louder than her truth. And so, the wall between them grows taller. Night comes heavy and silent. The woman lies awake, thoughts churning. A soft sound breaks the stillness as slip, a whisper against wood. She rises and finds a folded paper beneath the door. The handwriting is neat, each line pressed with care. "Meet me at the church office tonight for prayer." Her hands tremble. The words seem harmless, yet they carry a chill that creeps into her bones. She stares at the door, the darkness behind it, too quiet, too alive. The candle flickers. Her heart beats fast. She knows the tone of holy words twisted for unholy reasons. She holds the note over the flame. The paper curls, blackens, and turns to ash. Yet even as the smoke rises, the message remains burned inside her mind. She whispers the words slowly, as if tasting poison. Prayer, her voice hardens, or something darker. The flame dies, but her resolve begins to grow. Fear shifts into anger. A seed of defiance takes root, the kind that grows even in barren ground. Across the narrow street, the old widow watches from her stool. Her eyes have seen too much to be fooled by smiles. She sees the smoke rising from the young woman's window and nods slowly. When a man of God forgets heaven, she mutters. His words start to smell of smoke. Her voice carries like wind through dry grass. Those who hear it turn their heads, but no one speaks. In Makula, truth often walks alone. Morning comes with the sound of pots and voices. The woman tells her husband what happened. She speaks of the note of the unease in her chest, but his hand strikes the table hard enough to shake the cups. "Enough," he says. "You will not speak against the man who saved our marriage." Her lips tremble, but her eyes do not lower. "Saved," she murmurs. "Then why do I feel lost?" He turns away, blind again. His pride shields him, and her truth falls to the floor like spilled water, heard but never picked up. Later that week, as she sweeps near the church courtyard, soft voices catch her ear. Two young women whisper under the mango tree, glancing around like birds watching for hawks. "He called me too," one said it was for special prayers. I thought I was the only one, the other whispers back. The broom stills in her hand. The blood drains from her face. The words sink deep, confirming what her heart already knew. The lies were not born last night. They were old, dressed in robes of holiness. From that day, her eyes become sharper. She begins to see what others refuse to. The sudden fear in women's faces when his name is spoken. The quiet departures from the church. The forced smiles that never reach their eyes. She listens and gathers the broken pieces of truth that others drop out of fear. The holy man's mask begins to crack in her mind. Beneath it, she sees the face of power without mercy. And still, no one speaks. Silence has become the chain that binds them all. One night, the wind carries her steps toward the church. The door creaks like it remembers every secret it has ever heard. Inside, the shadows whisper. She searches until her hand brushes against wood beneath the pulpit. A box. She opens it slowly. Letters folded and tied with string rest inside. She unfolds one then another, each written in the same strong hand, each ending with the same chilling words. For your obedience, blessings will follow. Her whispers from the crowd, the phone's small screen glows, and the familiar voice bursts into the holy silence. The words return like curses to the one who spoke them. Gasps fill the air. Women lower their heads, remembering his threats. Men exchange glances, doubt cutting into their faith. The mighty man of God trembles, his mouth dry, his lies falling apart like ash. The recording ends. For a long moment, no one speaks. Then the murmurs begin soft-broken, spreading like ripples in water. The people step back from the altar as if seeing it for the first time. His robe no longer shines. It stains under the light of truth. From the doorway, the old woman watches. Her lips move in a quiet prayer that sounds more like a blessing. Truth walks slowly, she says under her breath, but it always finds its way home. The crowd turns toward the woman who dared to speak. Some bow their heads. Some weep. The old man with the staff lowers it. His rhythm stopped. The air feels clean again, like the sky after a storm. The woman stands tall. She does not cry. She does not boast. The truth itself stands beside her, silent but strong. The same church that once silenced her now echoes with her courage. The bell rings again, not for worship this time, but for awakening. And when the sound fades into the wind, the village of Makula knows that something old has ended, something true has begun. The church is full. The air feels tight, like it knows something is about to break. She stands before them, voice trembling but firm. The crowd watches, their songs fading into silence. No drum beats, no whispered prayer. Only her breath and the sound of truth waiting to be born. I have something to say, she begins. The murmurs start low, like the hiss of a restless snake. Some are curious. Some are angry. What does this woman want now? Someone whispers. Another says, sit down before you bring a curse upon us. The choir shifts uneasily, eyes darting between her and the altar. At the center, the pastor watches with a mocking smile. His robe shines under the light. His laughter is soft but sharp. Another woman used by the devil, he says. The crowd nods without thinking. Fear mixes with confusion. The old women clutch their wraps tighter. The men fold their arms, unsure which way to lean, but she does not bow. Her voice rises again, stronger. If truth is from the devil, she says, then heaven must be silent. Gasps echo through the room. Her words hit like a drumbeat that wakes the sleeping. She lifts her hand. In it, an old phone glows faintly. Her hand shakes, but her eyes do not. You all will lost to the wind? The people listened, not with judgment this time, but with the weight of their own guilt pressing upon their chests. The woman before him did not move. Her face was calm, her eyes steady. Respect starts where fear ends, she said. Her voice carried through the open doors, rolling into the air like thunder that no longer needed rain. The crowd felt those words deep inside their bones. Some wept quietly. Others simply stood still, hearing truth spoken plain for the first time. An old voice rose from the back, strong, wise, unshaken. A staff struck the ground 3 times. The sound echoed, commanding attention. We bent too long beneath false fire, she said. Now we walk with a light that never burns. Her words cut through the silence like dawn splitting the night. The women turned toward her, their eyes glistening with something new, courage. One by one, they rose. Young women with tired hands, old ones with backs curved from years of bending, widows, mothers, and daughters all stood together. No one told them to rise. They simply knew it was time. And then, softly at first, a song began. An old song carried from grandmother to granddaughter, a song of freedom born from the ashes of fear. The melody climbed higher, filling the church, spilling through the windows, meeting the sun that had hidden too long. Their voices joined as one, strong, clear. The sound washed over the place like cleansing rain. What had been a house of power became a house of truth. The people moved together, removing banners that once carried the name of the man who deceived them. They pulled down symbols that had been used to control, not bless. The altar no longer belonged to fear. It now belonged to truth. The old woman lit a single candle. Its small flame flickered but did not fade. "This house belongs to peace now," she said. The crowd nodded. Some knelt in prayer, not out of fear but out of renewal. The air felt lighter, freer. The man still on his knees lowered his head further. "I followed his voice," he said, voice breaking, "not my heart." His tears fell into the dust, making small circles that disappeared quickly. The woman looked at him once. Her silence carried more meaning than any word could hold. Then she turned away, leaving the space between them filled with quiet understanding. Children came forward, small hands holding brooms. They began to sweep the floor, humming the same freedom song the women sang. The elders joined in, their prayers soft but sure, asking for mercy and wisdom. "Let our hearts stay clean as this floor," one murmured. The women led the song outside, their laughter rising with the beating drums. The rhythm returned, not of fear, but of joy. The church no longer looked the same. Where once stood pride and false power, now stood a people reborn. Their eyes were bright with hope, their voices strong with unity. The wind picked up again. The church bell rang again, breaking through the moment. But its sound was different now. No longer a warning, no longer a call to kneel, but a call to rise. Its echo rolled across the fields and hills, reaching every corner of The sound spoke one message. Freedom had come. The people lifted their heads. Fear no longer ruled their steps. He preached submission and respect. The elder's voice declared, until lesson came for him. The words closed the chapter, but opened another. The crowd stood in silence, each person holding the truth inside them like a light. The lies that once blinded them were gone. The fear that once guided them was broken. The faces of the women glowed with quiet strength. Wrinkles, scars, and tears no longer told stories of suffering but of survival. They had carried pain on their backs for years, but now they carried pride in their hearts. The younger women looked to the older ones and saw courage. The older ones looked to the younger and saw hope. Generations stood together, breathing as one. A low hum began to rise, a song without instruments born from the memory of the land itself. It started with one voice, then another, then many. The rhythm built like the steps of freedom walking home. The word spoke of truth that cannot die, of fire that purifies but does not destroy, of women who stood when the world told them to kneel. When smoke clears, the voice of wisdom whispered, "Only truth can stand." The sound moved through the people like wind through dry grass. Every heart caught the message. Every eye held light. The drums returned, not the drums of war or fear, but the drums of new beginning. Their beat was soft, steady, alive. Each strike carried the promise of balance, of justice, of healing. The people moved together, their voices and drums telling the same story, that lies may rule for a time, but truth rules forever. And so the story of Makula did not end with punishment but with awakening. It did not close in anger but in peace. The man who once preached fear had fallen, but the people he silenced had risen. The false shepherd was gone, but the flock had found its voice. The women sang louder, their song rising beyond the church walls, beyond the village into the open sky. Their rhythm called to other hearts in other places, whispering the same lesson that when darkness breaks, it does not return easily. As the sun lowered, the echo of the drums lingered. The people would remember this day not as the fall of a man but as the birth of truth. The bell that once bound them now set them free. And in that freedom, the story lived on, told from mother to daughter, elder to child, carried in the beat of the drum and the whisper of the wind. Truth had walked through Makula and it left no shadow behind.